There's one reason why people attack you from the very first meeting, even if you don't say a word. Listen to me until the end. If you have very few friends or almost no one around you at all, the problem probably isn't that you're broken. The problem is that you're not easy to control. And that's a shocking sentence, but it's the truth nobody says out loud. What's even stranger? Some people will feel hostility toward your presence before you even say a word. Not because you did anything to them, but because you unravel them. Your presence sets off an alarm inside them. This person sees me, and that's the contradiction that makes this dangerous. Society says human beings are social creatures, and that solitude is some kind of illness that needs to be cured quickly. But in many cases, solitude becomes an immune system, a defense, a filter, not always a gift, but sometimes it's the only thing stopping you from selling yourself cheap. Picture the whole scene. You wake up early, your hand cold around your phone. You open WhatsApp, no notifications. You look at the last message in the group chat, seen from 2 days ago. You open Instagram, pictures of people hanging out, loud laughter, a hand on someone's shoulder, my brother, my boy, years of friendship. And you feel a heaviness in your chest, like a brick just dropped there out of nowhere. Not jealousy, alienation. Like you're standing outside a house full of light, looking through the window, but the door is locked from the inside. Then you go outside, step into an elevator, and see people laughing. The moment you walk in, they go quiet for a second. Not because you did anything, just because your presence shuts down the mindless chatter. You feel your heart start beating faster, and there's a part of you that wants to say something, anything, to break the silence. And then you stop yourself, because you know if you fake it, you'll hate yourself for it. That's when the voice inside you starts whispering, "Is something wrong with me? Why do people pull away? Why does nobody really hold on to me?" And right behind it comes society's voice. "You're not social, you're a failure, you're weird." And that voice is dangerous, because sometimes it's a lie, and sometimes it's half-truth. And half-truths are the worst kind of deception. So let's do something different. Instead of looking for a quick fix to increase the number of people you know, let's understand why that number is small in the first place. Because having few friends isn't always failure. Sometimes it's the natural result of 7 rare psychological traits. And today, we're not going to sugarcoat anything. We're going to decode it. We're going to look at what's happening inside your mind and what's happening inside their minds when they meet you. And stay with me until the end, because the 7th trait in particular is what makes society try to find leverage over you. And when it realizes it can't, it starts punishing you through
exclusion. And don't think exclusion is simple. Sometimes it hits your conscience before it hits your mood. But a quick warning before we begin. This is not a medical diagnosis, and it's not an invitation to look down on people or live in total isolation. We're talking about patterns in psychology and behavior and the power dynamics that happen between human beings. The goal is to understand yourself and protect your boundaries, not to turn into a bitter person. The first trait, and it starts from the very first glance, you have a radar for hypocrisy. Or more precisely, you hear what people don't say. Most people deal with relationships through words. I love you. I'm here for you. We're friends. They take the sentence like it's a written contract because that's comfortable. But you don't believe the sentence unless the person's body signs it too. You read body language without even trying. Micro-expressions, a tiny twitch at the corner of the mouth, a smile that comes from the lips but not the eyes, a shoulder movement that says, "I'm not comfortable," a voice that rises half a note on a certain word, a 2-second delay before answering when you ask a sensitive question. And that's why so often you feel like you're living in the middle of a collective performance. Let me give you a cinematic shot. You're sitting in a cafe, and one of the people who calls himself your friend is telling the story of your success in front of others. He's smiling and praising you, but when his eyes meet yours, you see something cracked in them, a little envy or fear or the urge to shrink you right after lifting you up with one sentence. Most people wouldn't catch that crack, but your heart starts beating faster, not because you're scared, but because your mind just said the contradiction showed itself. And then you start noticing the details that quietly kill relationships. He congratulates you to your face, then drops a subtle little comment about you behind your back. He says you're amazing, then compares himself to you in a poisoned way. He laughs with you, but the second you talk about your dream, he fires back with, "Don't dream too much, life doesn't work like that." One moment is all it takes, and you realize this isn't support, it's wing clipping. That's what psychology calls thin slicing, taking a small slice of a person's behavior and pulling a pattern from it. The good thing about that is it protects you from manipulation. The downside, it makes you see things nobody wants to see, and it can make you tired of people even when they haven't committed some obvious sin. And your strong radar can pull you into another trap too: suspicion, interpreting every silence as a conspiracy and every disagreement as betrayal. So if you see yourself here, remember that a radar needs calibration. We'll come back to that in the protocol, because this is one of the fatal mistakes that makes an aware person isolate themselves more than necessary. A quick calibration rule: don't cut someone off over a single look or one pause by itself. Let your judgment be built on 3 repeated signs: a pattern that keeps repeating, a clear contradiction between words and actions, and at least one attempt to clarify.
Instead of interpreting everything in your head, ask one simple question. I felt something there. What did you mean by that? That question protects you from becoming a prisoner of your own assumptions, and at the same time exposes the other person if they're dodging or manipulating. And it's not just that. In big groups, people call it fun company. You experience it like a data assault. Every second comes with a hidden test. Who controls the conversation? Who interrupts? Who laughs just to protect their position? Who gets triggered by your opinion? Who's trying to prove dominance without making it obvious? You see the power dynamics moving like a current under the water, and because you see the current, you can't swim like they do with your eyes closed. This is where the first reason you end up friendless shows up. Your presence exposes people, and you don't even have to attack them. It's enough for you to stay quiet and attentive, and they feel judged. So they do what human beings do when they feel threatened. They attack the source. They say, "You're intense, you're heavy, you're complicated, you read people too much." And chances are you've heard that thrown at you like an accusation. Here's a question that stings. Did you lose people because you're awful, or because you saw what they were hiding? Because some relationships survive on one condition: don't expose me. And you expose them simply by being honest. Stay with me, because the next trait will explain why you don't just see, you also get exhausted by the kind of conversation everyone else seems to enjoy. The second trait, you have a sensitivity to social noise, and it's tied to something called need for cognition, which basically means a need to think. Most people talk to fill space. You talk to reach meaning. That difference looks small on the surface, but in daily life it creates constant friction. Take a family gathering, for example. The conversation goes in circles. This person got married, that person got divorced, prices went up, the game was great. None of that is wrong, but it's surface-level conversation, everyday chatter. And your mind, especially when you're relaxed, starts climbing higher. Why are we all running? What makes a person sell themselves for acceptance? How does fear of rejection shape our decisions? Say a question like that, and suddenly silence enters the room, like you opened a door in the wall and showed people a graveyard. Someone laughs nervously and says, "Come on, let us live." Someone quickly changes the subject. Why? Because deep thinking forces people to face themselves, and people are afraid of that. That's why you look wrong in their world, when the truth is you're just thinking out loud. And sometimes you ask yourself, do I have to stop asking questions just to feel like I belong? That's a painful question, because it feels like you're choosing between two things. easy belonging or difficult honesty. And here's another paradox. A lot of people who have very few friends actually have very high social intelligence, but they don't use that intelligence to have fun. They use it for protection. They notice, they analyze, and they pull back before they get hurt. So they appear cold, but the truth is they've adapted to an environment that doesn't offer safety. And if you want to see the picture more clearly, look at Maslow's hierarchy in a simple way. A lot of people are always talking about safety, belonging, and acceptance. Your conversations move toward meaning, achievement, and growth. When you meet people who are still searching for belonging at any cost, your depth scares them. Not because you're wrong, but because you remind them there's a higher level and they're not ready to look at it. That explains why people have said things like, "You make everything complicated. You're too philosophical. You think too much," as if thinking were a crime. But what's really happening is that you came in with a different standard. Some people chase short-term comfort. You chase long-term meaning. And that creates the trap I warned you about. If you try to improve your social life by shrinking yourself, you'll feel yourself eroding. You'll laugh at what isn't funny, agree with what you don't believe, and talk about what means nothing to you, all so you won't be alone. And that's a form of slow suicide. In that moment, you choose one of two things. Either you perform and die inside, or you go quiet and live with yourself. And a lot of people with very few friends chose silence, not because they're arrogant, but because they're protecting their energy. But ask yourself this, is the real problem that you don't have people, or that you don't have people with the depth your mind needs? Because there's a difference between noise and companionship, and a lot of people are surrounded by noise and still alone. Stay with me, because the third trait will explain why some circles don't just fail to fit you, they actually try to break you when you refuse to follow their rules. The third trait, you have an immunity to control, or an automatic reaction against the herd. Some people walk into any group and immediately learn the unwritten rules. Who do we hate? Who do we admire? What are you not allowed to say? Then they blend in like they're part of a machine. That protects them from rejection. It protects their status, and it comforts them too, because they don't have to think. The moment you hear the unwritten rule, your body tenses. It feels like someone is trying to put a collar around your neck, and you hate the collar, not because you're rebellious for the sake of rebellion. You hate it because you love freedom. Because if you say yes today to a small lie for the sake of the group, tomorrow you'll say yes to a bigger lie for the sake of loyalty. And after that, you'll find yourself betraying your own conscience for the sake of belonging. Let me give you a real scene. A group of friends is sitting together, and one of them, usually the loudest one, says, "That guy's a snake, and we all need to cut him off." Everyone nods. Then they look at you, waiting for your signal of loyalty. If you say, "I'm not sure, maybe there are details we don't know," suddenly the atmosphere changes. The laughter fades. The looks turn sharp. Someone says, "What, man? Are you with us or against us?" That moment reveals something important. This isn't friendship, it's a belonging test, and that's the core of power dynamics. A group is not always searching for truth. Sometimes it's searching for unity, even if that unity is wrong. Social psychology has shown this again and again in experiments. Group pressure can push a person to agree with something clearly wrong, simply because they're afraid of being the odd one out. The Ash conformity experiment is one of the clearest examples. The idea is terrifying. Many people are willing to doubt their own eyes just so they won't get thrown out of the circle. And that's what makes you dangerous, because you ask why. And why is the word that exhausts anyone who wants control. A narcissist, for example, loves friends who function like decoration. They want an entourage to protect their image. They want people clapping and saying, "You're right, but you are not decoration. You ask questions, you evaluate, you don't hand out loyalty for free. And that's why you've lost many people. Not because you're harmful, but because you're not built for blind obedience. And then comes the painful test. If you're not with us, we'll pull away. Human beings feel that threat physically. Pressure in the chest, a slight tremor. Why? Because exclusion is an old pain, a primitive pain. That's why so many people surrender. But what often happens with you is that inside, you simply say, fine, and you step away. Maybe you feel a flash of pain, but you also feel dignity. And by the way, if someone tries to use a ready-made accusation on you, like you're against us or you're not loyal, that isn't just a moral accusation, it's a control weapon. And if you accept their frame, you'll end up trapped defending yourself inside their story. That's why you need to learn frame control early. Change the story instead of defending yourself inside theirs. Here's a quick question that opens a deeper layer. If you're not easy to control, why aren't you happier? Why does independence sometimes hurt? The answer is in the fourth trait, the one that makes you lose people even when there's no conflict. The fourth trait, you have the mind of an architect, an obsession with building. You're not alive just to have fun and that's it. You're alive to create something, to leave a mark, to become a stronger version of yourself. And when someone lives that way, time doesn't feel like a wall, it feels like a knife. Picture yourself sitting in a gathering, everyone laughing at the same joke for the 10th time. You smile too, but inside a voice says, that was 2 stolen hours. You get home at 3 in the morning, close the door, and the silence hits you.
You stand in front of the mirror, feeling that pressure in your chest. I was supposed to finish that chapter. I was supposed to train. I was supposed to learn that skill. And this isn't self-hatred, it's a compass. This is where stoicism enters from another door. The idea of memento mori, remembering death, isn't meant to scare you, it's meant to wake you up. Once you truly feel how limited life is, the good times that eat your life without giving you meaning suddenly look cheap. That's what makes you say no clearly, even if it disappoints people. When you're in a building phase, your brain operates in a different mode. Some people call it immersion or flow state, that condition where time disappears while you work. That state doesn't happen in noise. It doesn't happen when you say yes to every invitation. It requires silence. And that's what most people don't understand. You're not avoiding them, you're choosing a future. That's why you say no so often. No to going out, no to staying out late, no to gossip, no to conversations that leave you drained. And every no you say cuts another social thread until one day you suddenly realize you're alone. And in that moment, people interpret it their own way. He thinks he's better than everyone. He forgot his friends. He's gotten too serious. They don't see that you're in a workshop, not a lounge. You're building. And the person who builds has to close the door. And if you look through history, you'll find that many things were built in silence. Many remarkable people had very few but very focused relationships because life was never a party for them. It was a project. This isn't glorifying isolation. It's simply acknowledging that building comes with a social cost. But here, we need to pause for a second, because this is the middle of the road, and most people collapse in the middle. Listen carefully to this rehook. The problem isn't that you're alone. The problem is that solitude opens 2 dangerous gates. The first gate is arrogance, starting to imagine that you're above human beings instead of simply more aware. The second gate is exploitation, being so thirsty for genuine companionship that a manipulative person walks into your life, gives you crumbs of attention, and turns your solitude into a chain. And this is where most people make the fatal mistake. Either they run back to the herd and suffocate themselves, or they stay alone but turn into a bitter person who hates humanity. Both are losses. So let's move to the 5th trait, because it explains why even when you mind your own business, you still get pulled into battles that were never yours. The 5th trait, you're an unconscious mirror. People see themselves in you, and it scares them.
Carl Jung spoke of the shadow, the part of ourselves we don't want to admit, envy, fear, greed, the need for control, weakness. And when someone encounters a calm person who is self-contained and not hungry for applause, their shadow rises to the surface. That's when projection begins. Instead of saying, "I'm jealous," they say, "You're arrogant." Instead of admitting they're afraid of their own failure, they say, "You think you're better than us." Instead of facing their weakness, they say, "You're cold and inhuman." Have you seen this in school? The teacher asks a question, you answer correctly, and someone nudges his friends and says, "Look at him, showing off." Have you seen it at work? You stay quiet and do your job, and suddenly someone spreads a rumor, "He doesn't like anyone." Have you seen it in relationships? You ask for clarity and boundaries, and the other person says, "You're controlling," when the person who hates boundaries is often the one trying to control. And there's an even harsher scene. You walk into a new place, people don't know you, you're respectful and quiet, and suddenly someone cuts you down with one sentence. Why? Because your calm presence makes them feel exposed. They need to prove to themselves that they're higher, so they lift themselves by lowering you. That's aggressive ego protection. And that exploitation scenario I warned you about, it starts here. Someone notices you have very few friends and that you're independent, so they try to present themselves as the only person who really understands you. They give you intense attention at first, deep conversations out of nowhere. You're different, you're like me. Then slowly they drip in control, keeping you away from certain people, lowering your value so you'll need them, testing your boundaries with small comments, making you feel guilty whenever you assert your independence. And that's where you have to ask a late but deadly question. Is this person an ally, or do they need me weak so they can feel strong? Because the difference between those two is the difference between a doctor and a butcher. Let me give you a real tension scene. You're in a work setting, and someone wants to prove dominance, so in front of everyone they say, "You're so quiet. Do you think you're smarter than us?" In that moment, your body heats up, your pulse jumps, you feel the urge to defend yourself. And that's the decisive moment, because if you react impulsively, you just stepped onto their field. That's where the tools of power come in: deliberate silence, strategic indifference, and calm fogging. Because what they want is not an answer, they want a reaction. They want to pull you out of your center, because the person who can drag you out of your calm controls you. Here's the deeper question. If people attack you because you're a mirror, is the solution to break the mirror or to learn where to place it? The answer is coming, but first we need to understand the sixth trait that makes you seem strange, even when you're the kindest person in the room. The sixth trait: you're mentally ahead of the moment. You have temporal displacement. Most people live in the present moment, immediate pleasure, today's crisis, this week's drama. Your mind works more like a chessboard. You see 10 moves ahead.
You stay out late with people and watch them spend money recklessly, laughing and saying, "We only live once." And inside, you already see the debt, the pressure, the regret. You sit with someone in a toxic relationship and they say, "But I love them." And you can already see that same person 2 years later, broken. Not because you're a prophet, but because you see the pattern. Because of that, you get tired of laughter used as escape. When someone laughs too much just so they won't have to think, you see the pain beneath the laughter. Sometimes it makes you feel that if you spoke honestly, you'd ruin the mood, so you stay quiet. Then they interpret your silence as arrogance, and the cycle repeats. That creates a strange kind of isolation. The isolation of the watchman. You see danger before it arrives, and when you warn people, they call you negative. They say, "You ruined the night," and that burns you. Because you don't hate joy, you just hate blindness. At some point, you learn a brutal lesson. Not everyone wants to save themselves. And that's Stoic wisdom in its harsh form. Focus on what you can control, yourself. Don't try to drag an entire city up the mountain. you'll break yourself trying. And here's the honest question you must ask yourself. Do you live in the future because you have vision or because you have anxiety? The two can look similar. Vision builds, anxiety consumes. If your mind isn't planning but escaping, then what you need is balance, not more isolation. And now we reach the seventh trait, the one that makes society try to control you with its strongest weapon and then become shocked when it doesn't work. The seventh trait, you have an internal engine, an autotelic personality. In simple terms, your fuel comes from within. Most people rely on external fuel, praise, attention, likes, recognition. You're amazing. You matter. That's natural. But when that becomes the only energy source, you become easy to manipulate. You're different. You can spend 2 or 3 days alone and still feel fine because your inner world is rich. A book pulls you in. A workout makes you feel alive. An idea burns quietly in your mind. Work drops you into a flow state where the outside world disappears. That makes you less hungry for external validation, not emotionless, just less dependent. So when someone tries to punish you with silence, with ghosting, for example, or calculated neglect, they're expecting to see you panic and chase their attention. But when your response is simply, okay, and you go focus on your life, the game collapses. And that's why some people suddenly become hostile when they realize you're not chasing them, or they try to paint you in a negative light, because they lost control. And this terrifies people who play control games, because the strongest social leverage there is the fear of exclusion. If you don't listen, we'll ignore you. If you don't agree, you're not welcome here. If you don't praise us, we'll ruin your image.
That destroys many people because their self-respect is tied to acceptance. But when that tactic is used on you, your response is often simple, okay, and then you continue living your life. That breaks the power equation because the person who does not fear exclusion is extremely difficult to manipulate. But be careful. Having an internal engine doesn't mean you don't need people. We all need people. The difference is that you don't need them as fuel, you need them as companionship. And that's an important distinction. Independence is power, but total self-reliance can become cruelty toward yourself. Now, bring all these traits together. You detect lies quickly. You dislike noise. You reject group pressure. You build in silence. You mirror people's shadows. You think in terms of the future, and you move with internal fuel. Of course, your circle becomes smaller. Of course, you feel different, not because you're wrong, but because you're outside the script. And that explains a common phenomenon. The higher you rise in awareness or purpose, the narrower your circle becomes. Not because it's a curse, but because difference requires rarity. Think of it this way. A sheep lives in a herd because it needs the herd. A lion has a small pride, but a tiger, most of the time, it walks alone. Not because the tiger is sad, but because its nature doesn't require a crowd. And remember, that's a metaphor, not a scientific rule. But visually, the meaning holds. The more specialized you become, and the more sensitive you are to truth, the fewer places you can exist without wearing a mask. That creates a feeling I'd call a king in exile. You're not homeless. You have an inner kingdom. You just haven't found the people worthy of entering it yet. And that's why sometimes you feel harsh, sometimes painfully lonely, and sometimes misunderstood your entire life. But here's the part nobody talks about. Power without awareness turns into poison. If you start believing the story that you're above everyone, you'll stop being a free person and become an arrogant one. And people won't leave because they're weak, they'll leave because you became harmful. So keep the standard clear. You're not distancing yourself from people because you hate them. You're distancing yourself from lies, from exhaustion, and from manipulation. And even more dangerous, if you surrender to arrogance or anger, you lose the most important thing, your human flexibility. This is where you have to think strategically. Not every battle is won through confrontation. Sometimes you win simply by refusing to enter the battle at all. That's Robert Greene in its simplest form. Win before the fight begins by choosing the battlefield. But one line has to be said clearly. If you live constantly in me versus them mode, you will lose your soul, because constant anger becomes a prison. That's why you need a protocol, not slogans. But before the protocol, hear this warning. If you stay alone for too long without structure, your own mind can begin to consume you. Sometimes solitude grows until it becomes loneliness, the painful feeling of rejection and disconnection. And that pain is real. Social rejection isn't abstract. The body processes it as actual pain. That's why loneliness can literally hurt in your chest.
The difference between solitude, healthy isolation, and loneliness, harmful isolation, comes down to one question. Am I alone because I'm choosing to build? Or am I alone because I feel unwanted? If it's the second one, this isn't a pride battle. It's a human need, and there's no shame in that. Because running from need isn't strength, it's a mask. And if you want to catch the slide from solitude into loneliness early, watch for these signs. You start hating people in general. You feel relieved when someone cancels plans, not because you need rest, but because you're afraid to show up. You find yourself scrolling for hours instead of building. Or you feel like you want someone, but your pride won't let you admit it. That's not power. That's painful isolation, wearing a mask. And if you find yourself there, don't swing to an extreme. Don't run back to the herd and put your mask back on. And don't disappear completely either. Instead, create smart doses of connection. One phone call with a decent person, a workout in a place where people exist but there's no drama, attending a lecture, a short hangout with someone you trust. The goal is simple. Stay connected to the world without getting contaminated by it. It's a delicate balance, but it's possible. That's why the solution isn't to say, I don't need anyone, and vanish. The smarter move is to turn your isolation into a laboratory and build at least one bridge toward the right people. Not the bridge that takes you back to the herd, the bridge that helps you find a small, honorable tribe. And that leads us to a practical protocol. 6 power tools that will help you handle control attempts without losing your humanity. Step 1. Accept your standards without apology. If you want friendships built on honesty, depth, and principles, don't be ashamed of that. You're not being dramatic, you're protecting yourself. Anyone who attacks your standards usually wants you to lower them so they can feel comfortable. Step 2. The signal strategy. Don't chase people who aren't like you. Work in the spaces where the version of yourself you want to become actually exists. Learn, build, stay disciplined, raise your competence in your career, strengthen your body, read psychology, develop social intelligence, not so people will like you, but so you become solid and clear. And then you'll notice something interesting. People like you begin appearing in the same places: a gym, a library, a professional community, a project, a training program. The difference between solitude, healthy isolation, and loneliness, harmful isolation, comes down to one question. Am I alone because I'm choosing to build, or am I alone because I feel unwanted? If it's the second one, this isn't a pride battle, it's a human need, and there's no shame in that. Because running from need isn't strength, it's a mask. And if you want to catch the slide from solitude into loneliness early, watch for these signs. You start hating people in general. You feel relieved when someone cancels plans, not because you need rest, but because you're afraid to show up. You find yourself scrolling for hours instead of building. Or you feel like you want someone, but your pride won't let you admit it. That's not power. That's painful isolation, wearing a mask. And if you find yourself there, don't swing to an extreme. Don't run back to the herd and put your mask back on. And don't disappear completely either. Instead, create smart doses of connection. One phone call with a decent person, a workout in a place where people exist but there's no drama, attending a lecture, a short hangout with someone you trust. The goal is simple.
Stay connected to the world without getting contaminated by it. It's a delicate balance, but it's possible. That's why the solution isn't to say, "I don't need anyone," and vanish. The smarter move is to turn your isolation into a laboratory and build at least one bridge toward the right people. Not the bridge that takes you back to the herd, the bridge that helps you find a small, honorable tribe. And that leads us to a practical protocol. 6 power tools that will help you handle control attempts without losing your humanity. Step 1. Accept your standards without apology. If you want friendships built on honesty, depth, and principles, don't be ashamed of that. You're not being dramatic, you're protecting yourself. Anyone who attacks your standards usually wants you to lower them so they can feel comfortable. Step 2. The signal strategy. Don't chase people who aren't like you. Work in the spaces where the version of yourself you want to become actually exists. Learn, build, stay disciplined, raise your competence in your career, strengthen your body, read psychology, develop social intelligence, not so people will like you, but so you become solid and clear. A serious team. Remember one simple rule: don't go searching for friends, search for a way of life. When you live the life that fits you, the right friends appear naturally. Like a lighthouse. A lighthouse doesn't chase ships, it stands still and shines. The ships are the ones that find it. What does that mean practically? If you want people who love depth, go where depth lives. A course, a book club, a learning group, a tech community, a serious gym, meaningful volunteering, a project where responsible people work together.
You don't need a place full of laughter all the time. You need a place full of purpose. And the truth is, many people like you are hiding in those same places. Not at the bar, not in hangouts built for escape, but in spaces built for building. When you raise yourself into that arena, you create a filter without saying a word. And there's a secret in that step. Strong people don't gather in places built for escape. They gather in places built for creation. So instead of looking for friends, look for an arena. The arena will bring the right people into your life without you having to beg. Step 3. The safety mask. Machiavelli understood something simple. If you reveal your strength at the wrong moment, people will attack you before you even start. In everyday life, don't tell everyone you see through their games. Be normal enough to move smoothly through the world. Keep what's inside you private. Not everyone has clearance to enter your inner world. Blind honesty isn't always virtue. Sometimes it's recklessness. Here's a simple example. A coworker says, "Did you see the game?" The weak response, "I don't watch that stuff." Now you've started an unnecessary conflict and made yourself look like someone who looks down on others. The stronger response, the safety mask, smile and say, "Didn't get the chance, long day, who won?" Listen for a sentence or two, then gently shift the topic. "By the way, is tomorrow's report ready?" You just used small talk as a bridge, not as an identity. You protected the relationship without selling your mind. And now, the 6 tools. Focus, because these tools help you control the moment instead of letting the moment control you. Tool 1. Silence as dominance. Many people fear silence because it forces them to face themselves. Use it well. Weak response. Someone says, "Why are you so quiet? Are you upset?" You rush to say, No, I'm just tired." Now you're justifying yourself and giving them the power to evaluate you. Strong response. Same situation, you pause for 2 seconds, look at them calmly and say, "I'm not upset, but let me ask you, why are you so focused on my silence?" Silence flips the pressure. The question goes back to them. Tool 2. Agree and amplify. When someone throws an accusation just to provoke you, don't rush to defend yourself. Agree with part of it and expand it in a way that drains the attack of power. Weak response. You think you're better than us. You answer, "No, I swear, I'm just like you." Now you're pleading. Strong response.
I guess it could look that way because I do choose my time carefully and take my life seriously, but help me understand, what exactly bothers you about that? The insult collapses because it didn't hit you. Tool 3. Frame control. Whoever controls the frame controls the story. If you accept their frame that you're weird or antisocial, you'll spend all your energy proving you're normal. Weak response: I'm not weird, I'm just shy. Strong response: I'm social with people who respect depth. I just don't spend time where I get drained. Same situation, different frame.
Tool 4. Question reversal. When someone asks a question meant to corner you, flip it. Weak response: why don't you go out with us? You answer: I was busy. Then the trap continues. Busy with what? With who? Strong response: before I answer, why is it so important to you whether I go out or not? That question exposes their motive. Tool 5. Fogging. Calm ambiguity. Weak response: you're cold. You reply: how can you say that? I feel more than anyone. Now the argument becomes about your reputation. Strong response: I can come across that way because I like to think before I speak. If you need something from me, just say it directly. You neither deny nor confess. You simply remove the stage. Tool 6. Strategic indifference. Not cruelty, not coldness, just a refusal to become someone's toy. Weak response: someone says, well, you're alone anyway. You flare up. So what? Strong response: maybe. Small smile. Then you return to what you were doing. No fuel, no fire. These tools aren't for manipulating people. They're for protecting yourself from manipulation. Because people with very few friends often learn the hard way that having many relationships doesn't always mean being safe. And that brings us back to a simple philosophical idea. Stoicism teaches that real control isn't controlling others, it's preventing others from controlling your reactions. Machiavelli whispers, be flexible on the surface, firm at the core. Nietzsche reminds us, the path upward is narrow. Robert Greene repeats, say less than necessary. Different philosophies, same principle. Protect your inner sovereignty. Now, let's return to the first image, an empty chair in front of you. You can fill it with anyone just so you won't feel alone, or you can leave it empty until someone worthy arrives. That decision shapes your life more than you think.
If you're in a season of building, solitude isn't a curse, it's training. But if solitude turns into loneliness, if it hurts every day, if you start feeling like you're disappearing, then that's your signal to rebalance. Because strength isn't becoming a stone. Strength is being human enough to know when to close the door and when to open it a little. Remember this simple test. Any relationship that leaves you smaller than you were when you entered it is draining you, even if it makes you laugh. And any relationship that leaves you steadier, clearer, and stronger is worth watering. Your standard isn't the number of people around you. Your standard is their effect on your self-respect, your calm, and the direction of your life. And in the end, remember this: you don't need an audience, you need allies. One decent person standing beside you is stronger than 100 acquaintances pulling you down. So here's the final question, honestly. Are you going to keep cutting your wings just to fit through a small door? Or will you accept this cold season, work on yourself, and keep moving until you become the door? Solitude is not a sentence on your life, it's a test. And that test will either pull a rare version out of you or a bitter one. So instead of asking, why am I like this? Ask a better question. What am I going to do with this awareness? Because awareness without action becomes self-torment, and action without awareness becomes recklessness. Stay in the middle, awareness that protects you, and action that moves you forward. This road isn't easy, but it's the one worth walking. If this touched something inside you, write the word understood in the comments. And if you want to keep going with us, subscribe, because what's coming next dives even deeper into manipulation, power dynamics, and how to protect yourself without losing your soul. And if you'd like to support the channel so we can keep making deeper content, check the join button or any support option that works for you.